Welcome back to the Caregiver Minute, where every weekday family and professional caregivers gather to refine their skills, gain inspiration, and prepare to serve. I was blessed to spend most of last week in New Hampshire. I spoke to 3 different groups, one of them being the New Hampshire Healthcare Association. I met so many wonderful people, and I'm grateful for the experiences that I had. I'm also thankful for things that I learned from some of the attendees at those conferences. When I was speaking to the New Hampshire Healthcare Association, we were talking at one point about goal management versus time management. And one of the principles in managing your goals is understanding opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the price that you pay for making a choice. Choosing to do one thing means that you're choosing not to do a whole lot of other things. If you choose to use your time reading a book, then you're choosing not to use your time to do a lot of other things. If you choose one job, you're choosing not to do any other job that you could do. As we were talking about this principle, I gave an example. I said, let's say that you have a fence and it blows over in a windstorm. And suppose that you know how to fix the fence, that you're actually really good with tools and you could completely do that. You might consider your hourly rate in whatever your chosen profession is. If your hourly rate is a whole lot more than it would cost you to pay someone else to rebuild the fence, then you could say you're money ahead to hire someone else to rebuild the fence instead of you taking time to do it. Just because you could do something doesn't mean that you should do it. Learning to weigh those trade-offs in life is empowering, and it allows us to consciously and intentionally decide how we're moving forward and what trade-offs we're making in the process. Now, as we talked about this, a really smart lady in the room raised her hand, and she had the courage to present a different viewpoint. She said, well, who says you have to rebuild the fence at all? Do you even need the fence anymore? I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I think everybody in the room benefited from her insight. Just because something has existed for a long time doesn't mean that it needs to continue existing. And sometimes when we're considering trade-offs in life, we're wrestling with how to preserve the status quo. And it's a question of, well, do we hire someone to rebuild the fence or do we rebuild it ourselves? But a higher level question would be, do we even need the fence? Now, I think the fence can be a metaphor for a lot of things in our lives. There is much that we've done for years in our relationships, in our organizations, in our families, that maybe doesn't need to be maintained. Maybe there are some old traditions that could be set aside in favor of something that serves the current needs a whole lot better. I think asking that question of, do we even need the fence, metaphorically speaking, applied to a lot of different things in life, is very empowering. It allows us to consider how to best deal with the present moment. How can we most effectively use the resources that we have? And if there's one thing I've seen with family and professional caregivers, it's that there's limited time, limited resources. Often people are feeling stretched thin. And questioning whether we need to preserve the status quo or really shift and change things to meet the current demands is a very helpful consideration. I'm grateful that attendee brought up that question. Well, I hope it's a question that makes a difference for you and for the people that you serve as you wrestle with it and you consider whether you even need to rebuild the fence. Well, thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another episode of the Caregiver Minute.